Men's 10,000 metres, the athletes just being introduced to this huge crowd here. Great atmosphere in the Carrara Stadium. They'll be giving the Australian here, Stuart McSweyn, and his teammate Patrick Tiernan a lot of support. We've got Andy Vernon going for England in this. And one or two others, we'll introduce them as they go. That's Kip Limo there. I'm going to talk about him once we get moving, because we've got three very good Ugandan athletes, three very good Kenyan athletes. So we'll just finish off the introductions first. This is Ndiku, Jonathan Ndiku, who won the steeplechase, incidentally, in Glasgow. Change of event for him. There is Tiernan. I have to say the Aussies have been on fire in these athletics championships. I really can't see them getting amongst the medals here. However, that man there, you just saw Cheptegei. He won the gold in the 5,000 metres. We weren't expecting to see him in the 10,000 metres. We're told that discussions at high levels in Uganda resulted in him coming. It's great to see him here, attempting to win the double 10,000 metre final. So I've mentioned the strength of Kenya, and they're represented by, you saw that Ndiku, represented by Josephat Bet and Rogers Kwemoy. And one I haven't mentioned yet, though, is Jake Robertson of New Zealand, and he's in the All Black, as you'd expect from that country. He's in good form, just recently run a very good 10K on the roads, and was in this final 4 years ago. And also the man who won the silver medal from Canada, Ahmed, who's just moved, well, the third place at the moment, just ahead of what we're showing you here. It's Cheptegei just moving through the field, the 5,000 metre champion. So, Paula, three, well, let's start with the Kenyans, where you often start in the 10,000 metres. This isn't their best trio. They've managed to 1, 2, 3 in the steeplechase as expected, but it's certainly, I would think they'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised if they end up with a 1, 2, 3 here. They are a bit of a mix. People who are fans might remember Bet. He's somebody who, a good few years ago, well, he won a silver medal at the Commonwealth Games, but he had a great season in 2011, ran his personal best well under 27 minutes. But that's about 45 seconds quicker than any of his other 10,000 metre races. He's a bit kind of up and down. So he's here, though, and Ndiku, the early leader.
Yeah, and I think it's indicative of the form that Kenya has, particularly in the distance events and particularly in the 10,000 metres. If someone else from another country were to go off and establish this much of a lead in the first lap or so of the 10,000 metres, most of the big players wouldn't react at that point. But here we saw, even though it's Ndiku, it's not the better known maybe of the three Kenyans, you see immediately Mo Ahmed move up to cover that. He just didn't do anything special, but make sure that he was keeping that contact, not letting him get away, because at this point you don't want to allow that to happen. But I think you're right in terms of the clean sweep is unlikely here, and it's particularly unlikely because you've got Cheptegei turning it around and coming back in the form that he already showed in the 5,000 metres, and maybe even on paper the Ugandan team has a better chance of a clean sweep, if you were going to look for one of those, than the Kenyans. But I don't think that Toretich is in the form that we've seen him in previous years.
Well, they've started pretty quick, Paula. They'll be approaching 1,000 metres shortly, and they run around about 2:10 through 800 metres, so that's pretty quick running in this early stages. Right up there early on, we're talking about Uganda, we're talking about Kenya. Young Jacob Kiplimo, I really like this young 17-year-old from Uganda who we saw win when the World Cross Country were on home soil for them, and he ran brilliantly to win the World Junior title. Cheptegei, we'll both remember, we were commenting on it, fans might remember, he was miles, well, he wasn't miles ahead, but he sort of surged ahead, and then, yeah, I don't know, he's still to this day, don't know whether he just misjudged the laps, got excited in front of his home crowd, and got completely run down in the last mile or so, maybe the last kilometre, and finished 30th, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think he might hold the record for losing a win and dropping as many places as he did in that final. Was it even 800 metres? It was certainly well into the last lap, and I think there he desperately wanted to win that World Cross Country title on home soil, in Uganda and just totally misjudged it. But he grew from that, and he became the athlete that then ran as well as he did in London in the last summer, racing against Mo Farah in that 10,000 meters there, and really kind of made that big step up from where he'd been world junior champion to doing what he's doing now and controlling races and being the person that everyone else is looking at in this race on the global stage and certainly on the Commonwealth stage. But that pace was so quick and strung everybody out. Now it's completely dropped off and everybody is bunching back up again. Andy Vernon, who was just sitting on the back of that group, is now easily joined back to it, and I think we've only dropped one athlete now. Quick word on Jake Robertson. Controversial character, I think, him and his twin brother Zane, and he is the only man probably in this field who's bouncing back from running a national record in the marathon a couple of months ago, I think, and they came back and ran very well at 10,000 meters on the road. So not your normal build-up to a championship 10,000 meters, but he comes into it actually in very good shape.
Well, back to this pole vault, 4 meters 50. We've had 3 athletes go clear. Bradshaw of England, Kennedy of Australia, Newman of Canada, Liz Parnov. Well, this is her 3rd chance to go clear and stay involved in this pole vault final. Parnov, 450. Well, a surprise there. Parnov going out, 6th of the World Indoor Championships, but exits the competition at this height. So it looks as though she's going to have to settle for 7th place. She's got her 4th there, but McCartney hasn't started the competition yet. Molly Caudry, 450, already on a personal best from 440 at the previous height. So things hotting up in the pole vault. But Caudry exits there, 450. Well, finally, after a long wait, Eliza McCartney of New Zealand begins her campaign to take the title here. Well, the best clearance we've seen so far states her playing for the gold nicely with that jump. She's becoming a real class act in pole vaulting. First time clearance, that's 455. Good plant, rocks back, great clearance with some daylight. Absolutely skied that opening height. Leaves the nerves are jangling. She's waited a long time to enter the competition. Over an hour and a half. But you wouldn't know it. Perfect start for Eliza McCartney. Well, Nina Kennedy, the young Australian, has seen Parnov, her teammate, go out at the previous height. Kennedy, just 21 years of age. Coached by Alex Parnov, who coached the great Steve Hooker to Olympic glory in 2008. She's in safe hands coaching-wise and has a perfect sheet so far, 455. Kennedy gets it. Well, she's really up for this, and we now have a clean sheet from the Australian Kennedy, and is the joint leader with McCartney as we stand for 60 to the next height.
The Australians have got wings in these athletics championships, I tell you. They are flying, aren't they, in whatever event. So that's going well in the pole vault for them. Now, in the 10,000 meters, the pace has been pretty hot since the beginning. A 2:43 first kilometer, 5:31 for the second. 2:43 is low 27s, slowed a little bit, but they're back on to kind of 66-second laps. So the championship record, 27:45, they're well under that sort of pace at the moment. That was Talal in that sensational race in 2002. And I remember that one, 3 of them coming down the home straight together was incredible.
460, Holly Bradshaw, first attempt. Oh, just went sideways on that. The pole popped her across, slightly misaligned. And that's the first blemish we've seen on her campaign to take the title here. We know she's capable, but a foul at the new height after skipping 455. First time failure for Holly Bradshaw. Let's have a look at this. So the plant goes in clean. She just then pops sideways. Won't see it from that angle. But she's coming towards the camera there. And the force is not quite as efficient as they need to be. Getting towards some serious heights now. Needs to tidy that up. 2 more chances. Scott Simpson coaching from the back of the stand there. We need to make the adjustments. Well, Eliza McCartney has chosen to pass at this height. And this is Alicia Newman, who jumped 4.75 last year, so we know she is very capable of taking care of this new height. She also passed at the previous height. First time of asking, 4 meters 60, and gets it. So Newman of Canada, 6th at the recent World Indoor Championships. Well, she's going along very nicely. Just that tiny error earlier on is in first place. Cleopatra Burrell in the 4th round of the shot put, chasing the lead of Valerie Adams is 18 meters 70. Well, what an astonishing evening it would be if Valerie Adams of New Zealand was able to take the title here for the 4th time. Burrell, good friend of Adams, 18 meters exactly in 3rd place. So then Nina Kennedy, we heard the biggest roar in the Carrara here. 35,000 people once again in for the penultimate evening's athletics. Really behind the young Australian will go into joint lead with Newman of Canada if she can go clear here at 4 meters 60. A clean sheet so far. Kennedy of Australia, first jump at this new height for her, goes clear. Massive roar ringing around the stadium, and Kennedy feeding off it wonderfully. Joint leader Kennedy. So it's Kennedy and Newman out in front. Let's have a look at this. Really good plant, rock back. Good clearance that, a 460. But remember, Eliza McCartney has only come into the competition at the previous height and absolutely skied it. Holly Bradshaw carrying a failure at the first time of asking. Needs to get a bit more speed on the runway here for me. Get going through this, and also goes clear. Much more purposeful, much more competent, and a clean clearance for Bradshaw. Goes into 3rd place as we stand, but you just feel there's more drama to come.
Well, we're approaching the halfway point in this 5,000 meters, and it's completely broken up in terms of 1 or 2 of the names who we thought would figure, particularly the silver medalist from last time who's struggling here. We've had a couple of quick laps thrown in by the 17-year-old Ugandan, and they've just slowed again on that lap as they approach halfway. They're still on record, or games record time, something around, or you'd assume if they kept going and then got a bit quicker, they'll be under 27:30. So you can see the gaps are there. Young Kiplimo threw in a couple of 65s, and that's broken them up a bit, Paula.
Yeah, that's what's doing the damage. There's an easier way to run 27:30, and that's by running even-paced 66, 67-second laps. What they're doing is slowing it right back down and then picking it up again. Not by a huge difference, just 3 or 4 seconds each differential, but that's doing the damage, and it's telling in the legs of the Australians for the first to drop off. Actually, Andy Vernon just before that, and every so often when it slows again, he manages to just work his way back onto the heels of the 2 Australian guys in front of him, McShane and Tiernan, but they can't stay in contact with that lead group.
And when Kiplimo really did put those 2 laps in, there's a 68 there. The man who won the gold medal in the 5,000 meters just looked a little fatigued to me. Maybe has every right to be. And Ahmed of Canada has just tucked in behind. He goes, Cheptegei's the third of the 3 yellow vests that you can see. Actually, you can see the names going through on your screen there as they come down, approaching halfway. They've just slowed in the last 2 laps. A 68 and then another 68. But now again, just a little bit of pressure on. No, we didn't get a time there. There we go, 2:49. That's the slowest kilometre actually so far in the race.
Yeah, and I think that is the fatigue just starting to tell. Every time the pace just drops a little bit, then Quemoy goes to the front, or one of the Ugandans have been taking turns at the front as well.
Well, back to this shot put. Sophie McKenna leads the English charge with a new lifetime best, 17 metres 76. Danielle Thomas-Dodd in the 5th round has done something very special indeed. It looks like she's put one out there towards the game's record. Much faster, much more aggressive and committed for Danielle Thomas-Dodd, and 19 metres 36, a new national record, takes the lead. Well, what a massive throw that was there for the Jamaican, a national record, lifetime best. Valerie Adams in pursuit of first place, having had taken away from her by Thomas-Dodd in this penultimate round of the shot put final. Valerie Adams led all the way so far, 18 metres 70, her best so far, but 19 metres 36 for Thomas-Dodd. That may even be too much for Adams. The season's best so far, 18.70 in 2nd place.
Well, maybe a surprise on the cards there in the women's shot put. So now all of a sudden this group that's got itself away is now starting to think about the way the medals are. The attempt by Kiplimo to break the group up completely didn't quite work, although we've just had a 66 in there. Teratich, Kiplimo and Cheptegei, the 3 Ugandans, but there's only 2 Kenyans now because Bet is way off this group now. In fact, Andy Vernon of England's just gone past the Kenyan, and there's a gap between the leaders here to Andy Vernon of about 6 or 7 seconds. But Cheptegei, who went through a bit of a patch earlier on, now wanting to try and push things on a little bit. The silver medalist from the 5,000 metres tucked in behind him. He's had a quiet kind of period, hasn't he, Ahmed, just following what's going on, as has Robertson, just letting the others force the pace.
Yeah, Robertson hasn't once taken a turn at the front. He's just keeping his powder dry, staying quiet, tucked in at the back of that group. As we look at Andy Vernon, who's worked hard in this race, it's like he got to halfway and then he woke up a little bit, moved past McShwain, moved past Tiernan, and now is not running at that different a pace to the lead group. It's just that that gap was already built up and established beforehand. Cheptegei now has gone to the front, shadowed by Mohammed, looks better than he has done all race. It's like when he's gone to the front, he's kind of flowing a little bit better.
Well, Eliza McCartney of New Zealand chose to skip the previous height of 4 metres 60. New height for her, 4 metres 65 to take the lead. Oh, look at that. She's a class apart, the young Kiwi. She made that look so easy. Everyone else wriggling and doing their best to get over this height, but a game's record 4 metres 65 for McCartney, and more to come. Let's have another look at this. She's just a little bit quicker, she's just a little cleaner through the plant, she rocks back. It's fluid, it's rhythmical, it's balanced, and it's very, very effective. Well, Alicia Newman to match the jump of McCartney. And gets it. Well, it was a game's record for McCartney. There's an indication of just how much this event has moved on in the last 4 years. 2 athletes matching the previous game's record of 4:62 was the previous record. Now Newman matching McCartney. So we have a Canadian matching the New Zealander. Can an Australian join them? The crowd will let you know. They've been very supportive of the jumpers. Nina Kennedy, 4:65, clean sheet so far. First attempt at this new height. Or her first failure of the evening.
Well, the pace continues to be pretty hot in this 10,000 meters. 3 laps of 65 seconds we've just seen, and it hasn't done anything. It hasn't whittled this group down. They may have just slowed a little bit. In fact, Robertson's thinking, I'm feeling good at this. We're running hard, we're running good. We're going to run well under 28 minutes if we keep this going, and he probably feels this is my best way to maybe get a medal. I'm in the shape of my life. A 2:45 kilometer, that's 2 in a row that we've had at that pace, and he's trying to stretch them out here. Cheptegei just following the gold medalist, in fact the gold and silver medalist from the 5,000 meters, following the tall New Zealander.
Well, one thing you can say about Jake Robertson, he's not afraid to mix it up in the race. He's not afraid to take it to the Kenyans and the Ugandans and really try and play them at their own game. He knows he's strong. He spent a lot of time. He moved to 2011 with his twin to base himself in Kenya, to train like with the groups and to really get himself into shape. Then he moved to Ethiopia for a little bit. Now he's back in Eton. He's actually training with a young guy called Julian Vanders, who's doing really big exploits, fast times on the road as well at the moment. And he knows he's in good shape. He's coming off the back of that New Zealand record in the marathon, and he's decided, yeah, this is going to be a long run for home. Maybe I don't have the pace to live with these guys in the last couple of laps, so I'm going to make them work hard for it.
And they're beginning to suffer. Teratich hanging on in the yellow of Uganda. The youngster Kiplimo in the middle of that group. Cheptegei tucked in behind Robertson. He's making them work hard and he's making them suffer there. And Diku also struggling to stay with this pace. And Robertson, just by going to the front through in the quickest lap so far, 64.9, and it's hurting them. It's hurting them a lot. Makoka now dropping off this, and all of a sudden we're down to 5. 6 laps to go.
Yeah, and he's turning the screw, and he's now got the advantage as well of the lapped athletes in front of him, so he can focus on the best. This bad boy now this time in front of him, and he can work towards that. And it's perfect pretty much conditions for running a 10,000 meter race tonight. There's barely any wind in the stadium. Nice 22 degrees. I mean, it's the kind of conditions you would look for to run a very fast time, and he's taking full advantage of that and making everybody work really hard for it.
Ahmed looking like he fancies helping to keep this going. Robertson has almost looked to me as though he wanted some help. He's looking again, isn't he? Maybe saying, Ahmed, come on then, let's break this up. Let's get away here. Let's see if we can get this group down to 3. Makoka of South Africa in the green, trying to do his best to hang on there. But Ahmed, the silver medalist in the 5,000, Cheptegei following the young Kiplimo in that group as well. It was another lap of 64. You saw it come up 64.2. This one looks a tad slower. And only Kwemoi, the only Kenyan, still involved here. So they come round with 2,000 meters, 2,000 of the 10,000 left, 5 laps. Ahmed leading.
And Ahmed looking around over his shoulder as if to say, come on, whose turn is it next at the front? And everybody else is just looking at him. Jake Robertson's like, no, you've only done 200 meters. That's not your turn. You've got to do a bit more than that. And that's why I think this lap is going to slow off a little bit, but it's already done the damage. Makoka is not taking advantage of it slowing off to be able to get back on, because he's already run his race, and I don't think he's going to be able to get back into contact with this group again. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Jake Robertson doesn't have another burst in him yet.
Andy Vernon currently in 10th place, almost 200 meters behind. He's following Tiernan of Australia. Ahmed leads. Cheptegei and Kiplimo in the 2 yellow vests of Uganda. Kwemoi in the red of Kenya. Robertson, the All Black from New Zealand. Dick Taylor won the 10,000 meter title in 1974 wearing the All Black. In the days of John Walker and Rod Dixon and Dick Quacks, he was the one who won. They haven't won a medal in the Commonwealth 10,000 meters since then. I wonder if Robertson can change that tonight. Teratich trying to make his way back to this group. That's another 67, and they're just feeling each other now, aren't they, Paula? They're kind of looking as we get down with 4 to go. Who's got the pace? Who's feeling good? Who really wants to try and break this up. Who's going to rely on the kick? Well, Cheptegei must surely. Ahmed will, although he knows Cheptegei beat him in the 5,000.
Yeah, there's that at play as well, but I think, yeah, I think both of those will think they have a kick. I think Robertson also, we talked about the confidence of people like Kyle Langford. You won't find somebody in this race who has more confidence in themselves than Jake Robertson, probably. He really believes that he belongs in there. He believes that he works as hard as they do and that he can go out there and take the race to them. And he likes to play mind games within the race as well. That's why I said there might be another surge yet at the front to come from Jake Robertson if he has it in his legs.
Ahmed looks round. He sees the small figure of Quemoy. Kiplimo, he's only 17, the world junior cross-country champion. Cheptegei, the Commonwealth 5,000 metre champion here on the Gold Coast. 3 laps to go. Robertson still there from New Zealand. Toritich is desperately trying to get back to these 5. He's about 2.5 seconds behind them. Don't think he's going to do it. These 5 surely have the medals between them. Who's going to go first? Who's going to make the break? Who's going to try and test the others in these closing stages? Approaching 1,000 metres left.
Just a little bit telling there as Cheptegei moved out. He checked across first, looked at Jake Robertson and then surged to the front. But for me, it's Quemoy and Kiplimo who look the easiest at the moment. Ahmed is at the front, but I don't think he really wants to be there anymore. He took his turn and now he keeps looking around. He keeps seeing if there's somebody else willing to come to the front and do the work. Jake Robertson sitting at the back, he's not going to do that just yet. And it's Cheptegei who's moved to the front. But is it just to shut off Quemoy and box him with Kiplimo helping him out there?
Cheptegei moves into the lead, or does he? Ahmed just responds. They're going to lap some runners here as these 2 surge away from the other 3, and Ahmed wants to hold the lead with 2 to go. He knows what Mo Farah does, and he thinks, no, I'm not giving it to you this time. So a 62 lap all of a sudden, and we're away. We're going to get a championship record here, and Robertson's chances of a bronze might have gone unless the others have gone a bit hard too soon. Can he stay in contact? He's trying desperately to hang on to Kiplimo, who himself is trying to hang on to Quemoy. But the 2 who've gone hardest, earliest, are Ahmed and Cheptegei, the 2 medalists from the 5,000 metres.
Tell you what, at the moment, Mo Ahmed's biggest danger in this race is tripping over. He's looking around that much. He's looking over to the inside, he's looking over to the outside, and they were definitely playing with each other, testing each other there. A little bit of a surge, neither one wants to give, and what that did was it quickly drew them away. Quemoy was able to respond. Jake Robertson wasn't able to respond at all, though he has now worked himself back into contact with Kiplimo.
This is a great race. Cheptegei surges to the front, but Ahmed's not giving up. Uganda versus Canada. Kenya in the 3rd spot at the moment. Looks clear of the other 2, but they could give chase on this last lap. Cheptegei, who won the gold medal with a great finish in the 5,000 metres. Ahmed, who's strong, but he sometimes lacks that little bit of pace. He doesn't want to give this up yet. 2:50 to go. 2 metres between them. A little luck from Cheptegei. They've both got to be tired. The lap runner just getting out of the way. The crowd are loving this. Ahmed is still there. Cheptegei doing his best to get rid of him as they lap Tiernan. It's Cheptegei and Ahmed. They were 1 and 2 in the 5,000 metres, and Ahmed cannot do anything about Cheptegei. He's going to come away for his 2nd gold medal of these championships. Cheptegei of Uganda, it's double gold. Ahmed the silver again, and the bronze medal will go to Quemoy of Kenya. Kiplimo, the 17-year-old, comes in 4th, and Robertson just behind in 5th. Close, but not close enough. A new games record, smashed the record that was set in Manchester in 2002. 27:19, a good, hard championship 10,000 metre race, and a great winner, a great double winner in Cheptegei. Well, I hope the people who persuaded him to run are happy, because I'm sure Cheptegei probably is happy now, because it's going to make him even more famous than he was with his 1 gold medal. He was a reluctant participant, but goodness me, as he made them and his country proud and happy. Great performance.
Yeah, as we look at Andy Vernon coming down to finish, and he's had a good run out there. He had to work a lot of the race on his own, but he has had a good run, and it's yeah, he's not going to be too happy with the time, I think, when he looks at it, but the position and the way that he ran most of the race on his own, I think he will be. But back to Cheptegei, I mean, yeah, he needed some persuasion to run that race, and it's a hard double to do, the 5 and 10,000 metres. He's done it at World Championships. We've seen Mo Farah make it look easy at recent championships, but it isn't easy to go out there and do that, particularly at this stage in the year, but he certainly dominated that, and it was a proper 10,000 metre race. So it's good to see them really testing each other. It's good to see the surges in there. Mo Ahmed, maybe he thought on the last lap he just had it in him. He checked back a little bit at 200 metres to go, sat back inside, tried to just summon a little bit more in that home straight, but he couldn't compete with Cheptegei. Cheptegei just had too much left and was just too strong down that home straight. The last 800 metres in that race, 1:55, and that's what did the damage to all the others. That's why the likes of Jake Robertson had no answer. You can't come back from a marathon and then run the last 800 metres of a 10,000 metre race a couple of months later in 1:55.
Well, what a feeling for Cheptegei, just congratulating. I'm not sure everybody's in yet, just about. No, we got one more out there. This is a Toka Bad Boy. Great name. I'm sure he isn't. He's done a pretty good job there. He's being cheered in by the crowd as the other runners head off on a well-earned lap of honour.
He did get DQ'd in the 5, didn't he? So he was a bad boy in that one. But he's still accomplished that double as we look at the pictures of Cheptegei and Ahmed celebrating. He changed his glasses from the other night, but pretty much everything else remained the same. Cheptegei the winner, and Mo Ahmed just not quite able to find enough in the final straight to get himself back into that position. It's a silver medal for Kenya, building off the back of it. Was a bronze for Cam Levins last time when they were fighting down the home straight. It was very, very close, that race in Glasgow, and Cam Levins came away with the bronze medal there. So Mo Ahmed just upgrades that to a double silver, 5 and 10.
Yeah, Paula, you know, this is, it's not quite Mo Farah sprinting, but it wasn't far off it, was it? A 56.8 last lap, but it was because of the 59 before that. Ahmed did his best to try and run the legs. He knew what had happened in the 5,000. He thought, maybe if I go earlier this time, maybe if I can get away from him, but he couldn't break him. Anyway, great 10,000 metres.